Alrighty, people, so I know I'm gonna get hounded to death by this, like two Cerberus dogs trying to break out of a cage, and I do my itchy tasty impression, but still I am looking at this news for Resident Evil being announced, and it's not really too much of a shocker. You could see this from a mile away if you decided to tightrope between the Twin Towers naked and get struck by a bolt of lightning. There's no way you couldn't see it coming. We knew that a new Resident Evil was going to occur and emerge somewhere. It was just a matter of when, where, how, and how it would be presented in my eyes. And I guess the shocking part is, I thought it was going to be presented in a gameplay fashion, or where we see like a trailer or maybe a breakdown or a little story presentation of how Resident Evil 9 is shaping up to be. But no, Nakanishi, the man, the myth, the legend, who directed Resident Evil VII and BIohazard, I heard him talking about the iOS port and how it was going to have some great features, and I figured that would be the end of it. It would just be like a shameless plug for RE7 on the iOS device. But I was wrong in the fact, and he flat out confirmed and said we're making a new Resident Evil. Before I continue to give further thoughts, I will let the man speak for himself because I have a video up and ready to play.
The directors had different experiences, but we'd like to salute both for their innovative contributions. And finally, we managed to draw out an intriguing bit of information from director Nakanishi. We'll let him have the final comment. We're making a new Resident Evil. It was really difficult to figure out what to do after 7. But I found it. And to be honest, it feels substantial. I can't share any details just yet, but I hope you're excited for the day I can.
Okay, so let's dissect this statement a little bit. So he flat out just sat there and said, you know what, new Resident Evil, let's go. Resident Evil on name recognition alone has an insurmountable level of hype to it. It's Capcom's like most best-selling franchise, but we knew it was inevitable, we knew it was a given. Next, he says like they had a hard time finding an idea to do after Resident Evil 7, which I'm kind of confused by, because after Village, it's kind of typical that they were going to focus on the BSAA corruption and what happened in between the years that followed up into this new event. I'm not sure why they struggled so hard, or it was difficult to figure out the concept of what was going to occur in the storyline after RE7, because Village established that a lot of organizations are now starting to turn on the heroes. The BSAA is now corrupt, at least in North America, and Chris has to deal with that ensuing threat. Who is the mole? Who is the individual? And now they're going to be going at odds, right? It's going to be Silver Dagger versus BSAA, and maybe you could rope in Leon, bring in an established cast of the older characters, and make this like an apex point to not end the series, because I think that would be a stupid business choice or business decision to say, hey, this is going to be the final Resident Evil game. But I believe this could be like a very big turning point if the story is like really done well. You can close off some chapters and you can keep some open for the future as you go along, as they usually do, right? But to make complex ideas, I guess I'll play devil's advocate. Game development and crafting these unique and intriguing and complex stories where you see these characters in like different places, it could be pretty hard, it could be pretty challenging. So I guess maybe you could factor that in, and that's why the idea probably took way longer than expected for RE9, despite the chips being in place on the board. Overall, I'm very excited about this. I think it could be a very interesting project, and the only thing we have really is from Dust Golem, or what I like to call him now, Fat Golem, where he will spout out rumors and nonsense all the time, and he tries to stick something to the wall. The only thing he said is that Leon S. Kennedy will be possibly a star, and I guess you know, anyone can sort of make that up and say, yeah, maybe I can see that, because again, what people wanted from RE7, and the main critique that I heard people say is like, who is this Ethan Winters guy? Where are the older characters? What are they doing? And I didn't hate it. I thought you had to start anew and create more believable and maybe, like, I don't want to say believable actually, because you can believe the survivors in this scenario. I want to say probably like some more grounded characters where it's like they aren't super agents. It's just a normal man with some molded in his blood, as he doesn't discover that until RE Village. But still, they wanted to make just a bit more of an isolated story, and I get that, I understand that, but the main thing I kept hearing is, where's Chris, where's Leon, where's Ada, where's Jill, where's Sherry? So this game has the opportunity to maybe like enhance an ensemble cast and show like, hey, we have these characters coming back in their own ways, and we can make them like sort of fight a new super virus because their skills are super honed at this point. Or they can make them older because they are progressing the timeline. You can make the characters older, and when you create a situation where Leon is like almost 50 or 60 now, he's not gonna do all these crazy lightning kicks anymore. He's not gonna probably do all the stuff anymore. You can make some people sick, or you could toy with the story and toy with the idea that their lifespan is starting to come to an end, right? And I hate saying that, I do, but if you want to give these characters a lot more of a mortality rate, then you have to make them older, because their skills, like the skills are not going to be the same anymore. It's not going to be honed anymore. It's some people that's going to naturally have some stuff happen with older age, and I guess maybe you could toy with that in the time span that we have between the Resident Evil games, maybe the 15-year epilogue after Shadows of Rose. I don't know what type of game this is going to be, because it could be anybody's ballpark. I know it's not going to be a remake because you have Nakanishi here and he worked on 7, so it's going to fit into the trilogy of RE7, RE8, and RE9. And they were toying a bit with third person. They put third person retroactively into Resident Evil Village, and third person exclusive camera angles are persistent in Shadows of Rose. So I believe personally that it could be either or. Maybe it could be first person and third person at the same time. You toggle the camera, or maybe it depends on the person you play as. That would be pretty cool and unique. Although I want to see where this goes, and I hope that these main characters that's been with us for an odd number of years, they start to get their resolutions. They start to get their conclusions. It's time to really wrap up some storylines here and really say that, hey, Chris and Leon, we love them, but they're getting older. And that was like, I'm gonna mention another game here that was the forefront of Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, where it's like Snake's getting old, it seems like he's about to die with Fox die. And I said this idea before in the past in my videos. I want them to do something similar to Guns of the Patriots, but for Resident Evil 9. That'd be fucking crazy, right? Like, this is the game where they're toying with the idea that now these super powered protagonists are starting to show their age. They're starting to be sick. Things have drastically changed for the worse for them, and they're at their lowest point. We haven't seen them at their lowest point in a while. All right, and in a long time, since their first inceptions. So we need to go back to that premise for these older characters, and then play around with the intriguing nature of the story that is provided with seeing them at a more humanized and, you know, fearful rate at their age, right? That would be amazing. And the only thing I have to say after this is there is some Dino Crisis fans that got pissed, or they're pondering the idea like, why was there a RE announcement on the cusp of a Dino Crisis anniversary? And I guess to answer that question, I'll break it down into 3 sections. So the first one is, we already knew that RE9 was well underway after Village. And again, Resident Evil is their best-selling franchise. The unfortunate reality is Dino Crisis is not It died off after Dino Crisis 3, so there's a big lull of attention there from Dino Crisis 3 to something like, oh, you go through Resident Evil, they had like a stumping block that was thrown their way when RE6 came out, and then they overcame the hump and they made remakes relevant again. So now it's like that is 100% their relevant and marquee franchise with Resident Evil. I can see why they decided to make another one and greenlight another one quickly. Another thing is that green lights really don't work the way you guys expect it to. So just because Dino Crisis won this poll, and I know it's like Capcom is fielding for ideas, they're playing the field, they're trying to figure out what to do next that is going to sell a boatload of money. I see why they made this poll and why we sort of participated on it, and why it's like, number one, what would you like to see a sequel to, or a remake, or a new game? Dino Crisis. And then we have Mega Man as second, and then we have DMC as third. Totally understandable. I think all of these selections make sense. Honestly, perfect sense to me. The issue is that greenlighting does not work just because a game won in a poll. I think they will make a Dino Crisis in the future. I think Exoprimal was the test bed, and you have like resources left behind from Exoprimal, and you can go ahead and take some of the dinosaurs from the RE engine, use those resources, and easily make a Dino Crisis game, do the announcement maybe sometime later this year or sometime next year. It's very easy, but it's up to Capcom ultimately to greenlight the project, and it's up to them. It's not up to us. They know the poll, they've seen it, and I believe once all that data was collected, they're gonna sit on it, they're gonna take some time, they're probably gonna show some RE9 proof and concepts at a later PlayStation showcase, and you'll be chilling and loving all that, and then they'll move on to newer projects once they start to get the ball rolling with Pragmata and everything. Once they start to finish that, you will probably get rumblings of Dino Crisis, which is probably going to be done on their new Rex engine. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be like interesting if that's the first Rex engine game that they do, is Dino Crisis, really upping the ante, showing we're this evolved beast with the T-Rex on the fucking cover of the Rex engine. That'd be awesome, right? So that's what I think they're going to do. And then I guess thirdly, I would say if it wasn't for RE, Dino Crisis wouldn't be the same concept that we enjoy, because it is more or less a survival horror offshoot dealing with dinosaurs and not zombies, with similar Resident Evil gameplay and notions. Because of RE, it lent birth to Dino Crisis, right? It's something that should complement itself, and I think that needs to be a little bit more respected. As we are Dino Crisis fans, as we are Resident Evil fans, I think the best benefit for both of us is that they try to revive it, it goes well, Resident Evil continues going well, and both franchises start to thrive and bloom, and then Capcom has like two successful horror franchises as opposed to just leaning on one. Anyway, my name is Renegade Operative. I am signing out. That's all I have to say about the current Resident Evil 9 news. Not really a lot, but it feels really good to see it in action yet again. It feels really good to say, hey, this thing now is official, and I'm looking forward to the future. I will see you guys next time. Later.